The Mummy's Curse, which you could have called any of these films, is the final in the Universal Mummy films, and following directly off the events of The Mummy's Ghost. The film begins at Tanty's cafe. This is Tanty, and I guess it's open mic night, because she sings the You song.
Hey, you.
That's strange, but what's stranger, despite taking place in the same town as the last two films, which was in Massachusetts, we're somehow now in Louisiana. That's a pretty big mistake.
I'm Christopher Lee. Yesterday, in The Mummy's Ghost, we saw the mummy, Karis, and his reincarnated princess, Ananka, sink slowly into a Massachusetts swamp. Today's movie returns to that swamp, which is now, inexplicably, in a Louisiana bayou.
Man, Christopher Lee's voice is so cool.
This enormous bit of artistic license let Universal mingle the Egyptian mythology with the exotic voodoo traditions of the Cajun swampland.
Well, there was no voodoo in this film, so I don't know what he's on about. Everyone's a bit concerned that the local swamp is getting drained because their mummy's in there. But Cajun Joe says it's okay and recaps the last film.
But it was 25 years past.
So if you do the math of the timeline, The Mummy's Hand takes place in 1940. The Mummy's Hand and Mummy's Tomb were said to take place 30 years later, so that makes it 1970. And now Curse takes place 25 years after that, making it 1995. So clearly they can defeat the mummy by using pogs. The government workers are trying to pave over the swamp, the people don't want it, because their mummies in them swamps. The government guy is Pat Walsh, and Dr. Jim Halsey, played by Dennis Monroe, meets him, along with his assistant, Dr. Izor Zendeb, played by a guy named Peter. They're here on official mummy business, but Walsh would have believed it more if they said they were here about Alucard. The secretary, Betty, speaks up against him because she is his niece, and she's taking a fancy to Jim, but Pat's still not buying it. Just ask Jeeves on the internet. Mummies don't exist. But there's no time because this guy, Gooby, found something. If you think that name is weird, apparently the actor's name is Napoleon Simpson. Sad he didn't go on to do anything else. He also found a worker got stabbed in the back.
The devil's on the loose, maybe so we all be killed. Right.
They find some bandages and a mummy-shaped hole in the ground.
Devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
That's the catchphrase of the film. That night, in case you couldn't tell from his fez, Dr. Izor is actually Dr. High Priest. But a bigger twist, he's got an assistant named Ragheb, who disguised himself as one of the workers, and he got someone from the job site to help him find Karis and lift him all the way to the ruined monastery painting, and he was the one who backstabbed him. Well, at least they got a good setup. Time to suit up. Karis is once again played by Lon Chaney Jr. You might notice he looks a little bit different in this film because Lon Chaney was sick of playing the mummy, covering himself in bandages and glue and dirt all day. So he found a compromise with Jack Pierce, probably involving violence, and so Jack Pierce just made a mask. That mask is the currently last surviving piece of Jack Pierce's work, and it's currently being preserved by collector Bob Burns. So Dr. High Priest re-explains Tanati to his assistant Rag, but even more egregious, he decides to use the smoke from the teapot to show the flashback from the mummy's hand, making it the third time we've seen this footage, counting the original 31 film. So just ladle your mummy some tea. But the caretaker doesn't want that pagan shit in his house. This is God's country. So Carrie, get him. The next day on the job site, Rag has a smoke with Cajun Jim, and unknowingly they found Anaka, who I guess floated away from Karis in the swamp water before it hardened. Anaka slowly waking up from the ground is actually pretty creepy. Slowly getting up and stumbling like a zombie. But a little walk, some sunshine, and washing herself out in a cleaner swamp water got her good and de-aged for Cajun Joe to find her. No, they don't call her Amina at all in this film, and yes, she's been recast.
Princess Ananka is played by Virginia Christine in tonight's movie. Most Americans will recognize her as lovable Mrs. Olson from the Folger coffee commercials. She certainly looks freeze-dried in her layers of makeup. They were so brittle, she had to be rolled to the set in a special cart so she wouldn't crack. I hope you'll agree that the sequence of the withered Princess Ananka emerging from her marshy tomb is amongst the most chilling scenes in monster movie history.
Rag walks past, overhearing the conversation, and of course Anaka has got memory lost. as Joe takes her to the spare room behind the cafe. Karis is sent out that night and finds them pretty easily. I don't know, it's just kind of funny that he just opens the door instead of just like knock it down or punch his fist through it and open it that way. Anaka freaks as Karis strangles Tanty, giving her a chance to escape. But all that resting and running really got herself pooped. Oh no, honey, did we hit another one? Better hide the body. And Karis comes this close to grabbing her. You're just too slow. I think Dorothy's about to wake up from Oz. What's this mold on her neck? Meanwhile, Anaka is waking up in a bed again, this time with Dr. Cooper, Dr. Jim, and not Dr. Betty. But Anaka is having a great time, doing work for everyone. Praise Amun-Ra. She loves being outside, radiating in the sun, and yep, this is genuine mummy rap. But that makes her feel kinda weird. Oh, hi, High Priest. So that night, they send Karis to go get her. After a brief chase, she explains who Karis is to Cooper, just for him to get attacked. The next day, Pat's pretty convinced that Jim is the one actually attacking people and not this mummy nonsense. So Jim, Joe, and Rag go investigate, and Cajun Joe finds Anaka, but Karis finds him. We are literally running in circles at this point as Anaka makes it back to the tent, and that kind of jogs her memory. Just as Karis finds her, again, and this time he actually is able to grab her. He also hits the tent pole, which I wonder was actually an accident by Cheney. So the mummy carries the girl in white.
The mummy's on the loose, he's dancing with the devil.
Why do you switch it around? Up the steep stones.
The stone temple steps. Years later, I performed a more or less similar mummy scene and injured my neck and shoulder muscles rather badly. I learned later that Lon Chaney Jr. had some help. He wore a canvas brace that supported the weight of actress Virginia Christine. Unfortunately, Chaney was also fortified by a few midday libations. Miss Christine took one look at those stone steps and feared she would die in the arms of a wobbly mummy. Fortunately, director Les Goodwin's got a stand-in to wear the mummy suit for that scene only.
So now they got the girl, it's time to go back to Egypt. Naka actually is given the Tanati, but Rag gets in trouble for bringing Betty here, and he stabs someone in the back before he'll do it again, to Dr. Priest. Jim shows up, and of course Rag out of nowhere falls for Betty, and everything's wrapped up in the last 6 minutes. There's a fight between the two guys. Karis turns on Rag for some reason and chases him into the cell of the monastery they're in. But he goes after him anyway, knocking the wall down, and Karis survived being set on fire twice and drowned in a swamp, but falling stones is the thing that finally gets him. Everyone meets back up, and Anaka becomes a mummy again. And Jim and Betty hook up. Final body count? 7, counting Karis, and I'm not counting the flashback anymore. This is the last and definitely the least of the Universal Mummy films. You can tell they absolutely ran out of steam at this one. The new characters are very whatever. It's already repeating itself in the last 2 films, as well as the repetitive chasing of Anaka and Karis. Anaka hardly says anything and does even less. The film just comes off as a cheap cash-in they didn't know what to do with.
Virginia Christine, or Ananka, received $541 for her part, far less than even the lowest paid male actor. For the 2 Cajun songs used in the film, the studio paid $1 each, and the top billed player, Lon Chaney Jr., lumbered off with $8,000 as the mummy. When a method-trained actor once asked Alfred Hitchcock, "What's my motivation?" the director replied, "Your salary."
Well, at least the Bayou setting, while being a continuity era, at least does something different. There's some decent moments, like Anaka waking up in the swamp, but this movie kind of is a 3.5 out of 10. But let me know what you think down below, as well as hitting the like button and smashing that subscribe button.